What's up, y'all? It's your girl Amanda, and we are back with another episode of Mandy's Entertainment Reviews. So, for this episode, we are reviewing the Donna Summer documentary Love to Love You. It was on HBO Max, so if you have HBO Max, it is still on there. It premiered, it's a little older, so it premiered in 2023. I think that was during the era where, HBO Max was doing those music documentaries. They had Tina, they had DMX, Juice World, Donna Summer. It is still on there, so if you do want to check it out, it is still on the app. It was a one-part documentary. It was about maybe almost 2.5 hours long, 2 hours to 2.5 hours. Now, this documentary I really did enjoy. It was amazing seeing how long Donna Summer's career was and what she's accomplished. And it was also emotional because, trauma was discussed, family was discussed, and also her illness as well. I think this is maybe inaccurate to you, the listener, but to me, whenever I would hear, conversations about black music, I don't really hear Donna Summer's name. I hear Michael Jackson, I hear Prince, I hear Marvin Gaye, I hear, Bobby Womack, Wilson Pickett, Smokey Robinson, Otis Redding, but I don't really hear Donna Summer. So, for me to go through that, it gave me an opportunity to learn more about Donna. And also, I've seen pictures of Donna in the past over the years, but because she passed away in 2012, and to me, that was during a time where the internet wasn't what the internet is now. I'd heard that she died, but I didn't know like the circumstances of her passing until years later. I knew she died of like lung cancer, but like what was her last days like and stuff like that, I knew nothing about. So, for me to see that, it was just emotional. She was beautiful. She was beautiful up until the day she died. So, I did want to say that as well. As you guys know, I do my documentary reviews in KWL. So, know, want to know, and learned. What do I know is that obviously she was a disco singer in the 70s. She made, Bad Girls, Working for the Bad Girls, Sad Girls, stuff like that. And then she also made Work Hard for the Money, so you better treat her right. But I think that song came out in like 1980, 1979, 1980. But those were some of her hits. Her daughter, Brooklyn, was in My Wife and Kids. So if you guys didn't know, the first Claire in My Wife and Kids was obviously Megan Good, right? But then they had a cast change, completely normal in Hollywood, right? So they went from Megan Good to Brooklyn Sedano, and she played Junior's wife for the last like maybe 1 or 2 seasons of the show. Donna also acted as well. She was Steve Urkel's cousin, Una. They had her dressed up real good like a Urkel. You wouldn't recognize her if you watched the episode, but she was Una Urkel. She passed away from lung cancer in 2012. I was a senior in high school. She was married to Bruce Sedano, who's a record producer, and that's who is also Brooklyn's father. And also, she is a distant cousin to Bobby Brown. And how did I know that? Many years ago, Bobby Brown put out a book called Every Little Step, right? And he told a story about how he found out that him and Donna were distant cousins. And he walked up to her and just kind of introduced himself to her. And I guess she kind of like blew him off or whatever. That's the story I saw. I could be wrong, but they are related. And what do I want to know is more about her childhood, her experience in singing in clubs. How was she as a mother to her daughters? She had another daughter named Amanda, like my name. My name is Amanda. And life in the 90s, because obviously, in the 70s and 80s, disco kind of cooled down and stuff. What was her life like in the 90s? Did she make music in the 90s? Did she tour in the 90s and all that stuff? And also, did she still sing when she was going through treatments for cancer? Did she still go in the studio while getting, I don't know if she got chemotherapy or radiation, but was she still, going in the studio while going through that? As you guys know, I always say what I learned may or may not answer those questions. If they do, great. If they don't, that's okay too. So, what did I learn about Donna Summer in this documentary? One, her background singers were her sisters. I always thought that that was like a new thing when Toni Braxton did it with the Braxton sisters, Tamar, Tawanda, Trina, and Tracy. But I guess Donna Summer did it too. So I guess, oh, and Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin's sisters were her background singers. I always thought those two did it and that was it. But I guess Donna did it as well. She can play the piano. When you listen to disco, not a lot of piano is involved, so I always assumed she like had nothing to do with that. But they did show footage of her sitting at the piano playing and singing. She had three kids, so three, I think, daughters. I'd never heard anything about a son, so she had three daughters. And her daughters didn't know anything about the Love to Love You song. I guess, like, of course, she hid that from them, which I think is kind of weird because, look around, the lifestyle you have is because of the plays and the record sales of Love to Love You, in my opinion. Love to Love You was banned by the BBC in Europe. And I kind of get why, because here in America, I want to say some of our media is censored. Some, some. I know back in the day on TV, like you was seeing people, unaliving themselves on the news and stuff. But they don't show that stuff as much on TV. But we still have like rap music with explicit lyrics, and now you could have access to explicit music videos. Because like back in the 80s and 90s, those explicit videos getting played on TV, that was not happening. But we have it now on YouTube and stuff. But the BBC and like Europe and stuff, they're a little bit more conservative than we are, so I would kind of get why, because this song is so like seductive. So yeah, it was banned by the BBC. um Her mother wanted her to be a singer, and she grew up listening to Mahalia Jackson, a gospel singer. I'm sorry. And yeah, who didn't grow up listening to Mahalia Jackson? I grew up listening to Mahalia Jackson. I think my great grandmother had like some of her records. And Mahalia, she was a very well known singer. She actually lived out here in Chicago. She died here. And she also, I think she's buried here as well. I'm not sure, but she had a house on the south side, and she died actually at Little Company Mary Hospital, and right down the street from Little Company Mary is Christ Hospital. That's where I was born, so I know exactly where Mahalia Jackson passed away at. Donna Summer is from Boston. I always thought she was from somewhere else, like sometimes I would get like Detroit vibes. Sometimes, oh, she's a Cali girl, but she's lived in California for so long. I didn't know it was Boston because, like, when I would hear her talk, I didn't really hear the accent. But yeah, she is from Boston, and she had a video camera when she was on the road. So she started traveling on the road when she was young. She had a video camera, and honestly, like back in those days when she was traveling, having a video camera was very rare. So she filmed stuff on the road. So having that footage now in 2026 or 2023 when this documentary was made, I think that was pretty tight for her daughters to sit back and kind of like reflect on their mom's life on the road in the beginning of her career. She lived in Germany. That's where she met her first husband. So her daughter Mimi, that's the oldest girl's name. Her daughter Mimi was born, and then they split when she was two, and she, you know, had her daughter stay with her parents back in the States, and then she continued her touring and career life over in Europe. And I couldn't imagine how traumatizing that was for her to leave her daughter for her career and having to be raised by grandparents, that is a blessing, but I know like deep down sometimes she missed her mom her mom missed a lot of, the big things in her life, like her first steps and all that. Toot Toot Beep Beep was a thought to how to haul a hooker in Bad Girls. See, I didn't know that. And I've been listening to Bad Girls my whole life. Like growing up here in Chicago, we have major radio stations and stuff. And they would play like the old school soul and disco records. I always thought the Toot Toot Beep Beep was just to go with the record, like for the beat. Like, oh, there's a big space in this record. What should we put? Toot Toot. Ah, beep beep. But I didn't put two and two together until I was older that she was talking about bad girls, sad girls talking about the bad girls, and sometimes that can be linked with prostitution. That's a good connection there. She was genius for that. Her family was full of singers. Obviously, she had her sister in the background as her background singers, and she was a part-time parent as Mimi got older. And you know what, y'all? Having a part-time parent, y'all think sometimes, well, not y'all, not all y'all, but sometimes people think having a part-time parent is fun and you don't have a lot of rules because of that and blah, blah, blah. No. Having a part-time parent is kind of traumatizing. And again, I couldn't imagine what she was going through having her mom part-time and having to share her mom with the world, too. I couldn't imagine that. Like, I know that was kind of like stressful. She almost unalived herself in a hotel, but she was stopped by a cleaning lady. She was about to jump out the window. And that's why I always say there is no way in the world I would want to be that famous, because a lot of these documentaries I would watch, y'all, a lot of these entertainers was so close to unaliving themselves. And ironically, like most of their stories end with, oh, something or someone saved me by coming in. I know Joan Rivers was about to, unalive herself, but she said her dog actually saved her life. And fame can be a blessing and a curse. It can bring you opportunity, but it can also bring you such sadness. And I just hated that when she told that part, like that she was about to off herself, it just made me really sad. She dated an abusive man named Peter. And you know what? This is so rare for me to hear this. She was talking about Peter, or no, I think Peter was actually on there, and he was talking about how remorseful he was of the abuse. I've never heard that part in my life where the guy was actually remorseful of the abuse. Because normally the stories I've heard of abuse, they don't say nothing or they deny it or, oh, they downplay it. But I'm glad that, Peter stepped it up and said, yeah, I take action. I take action. Then she met Bruce and they worked on music together. This I didn't know. Her record label, Casablanca Records, they had paying issues. So that goes to show, like, when people have issues with their record labels, it goes way back. It goes way back. Even Donna Summer had that issue. Y'all thought y'all favorite rappers had issues with the record label not paying them? Even Donna Summer had that issue. But she went on to be signed, to be the first artist to be signed to Geffen Records. Now, the reason why I put that there, y'all remember the Ashley Simpson show on MTV? The very first episode, Ashley went to Geffen offices and she signed with Geffen right then and there, right? For years, I thought that Geffen was just this new record label and Ashley Simpson was signed to it because she didn't want to go the route that her sister Jessica went, right? But I didn't know, like, Geffen was around for a long time. David Geffen was around for a long time, and Donna Summer was the first artist to be signed there. And also, she was the first female black artist on MTV. Now, we all know Michael Jackson was the first black male artist, but she was the first female black artist to be played on MTV. She lived in Thousand Oaks on a 56-acre ranch. Thousand Oaks is a Los Angeles suburb. It's a little bit further than Calabasas. Britney Spears lives there, so she's got like 20 acres. And yeah, she had a 56 acre ranch, so that was probably super peaceful. But I know like torture to get to the city from Thousand Oaks. And from the videos that they had, I know it looked beautiful. It looked really beautiful. Bruce and Donna's early relationship was vital. I thought that was shocking because they've been together for so long. They have kids, you know. Towards the end, where they showed like video footage of her and Bruce together when she was in her final days, they looked so in love. But I would have never known that it was vital. She was into painting, and sometimes when you paint, it brings peace. She became a born again Christian and was bought peace because she talked about all the traumatizing things that she went through in her life. But I guess becoming a born again Christian, that just like kind of brought peace and kind of not let it be on her shoulders as much. And I get it. I get it. She made the Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve comment, which was honestly one of my biggest peeves. Why? Because I went to Catholic school in middle school, and I remember my religion teacher standing in front of us, preaching that stuff. And I got older, and I honestly learned that that was freaking hate and meanness and prejudice stuff. So, but she did say that, and the LGBTQ community was upset with it, and she said she thought it would go away, but it didn't. It didn't, and yeah. Again, she was beautiful in her final days, and the reason why she was so beautiful and stuff is because she didn't give death power. So she didn't the power of the tongue. So she didn't really talk about, dying. And I do give this documentary a 4.5 stars out of 5. What I liked is that there are archive performances of her of all the decades of her career. There was a performance of her from the 90s that looked like it was kind of like an intimate performance. There was also black and white footages of her performances from like the 70s, probably the 60s when she was overseas in Germany. There was interviews from her siblings, so I guess her younger siblings and her children were involved in the documentary, which was fine. And her ex-husband, her first husband from Germany. So I guess that was really nice because if there was like beef within the family with the ex-husband, he wouldn't be on there. But I guess there isn't beef with the ex-husband. So what I disliked about the documentary is that she had to talk about the Boston racism, the famous people depression. She had to talk about Peter, her abusive ex, was in the documentary. But at least he was remorseful about it. She didn't get a chance, even though she became a born again Christian, she didn't get a chance to, make a gospel album. And lastly, she died so young that she should still be here. I think she would have probably mentored a lot of these new singers and all that stuff. But that is my review on the Love to Love You Donna Summer documentary. It is still on HBO Max if you want to check it out. And thank y'all for listening. Peace.